6 years. That's how long it's been since I made a video. 6 years. That's how long it's been since a new world was released in Plants vs Zombies 2, and I think it's about time Popcap changes that. Adding new worlds or at least one new world to the game is a win-win situation for not only the players obviously, but also the developers and the game in general. And let's be honest, it will just be really cool. In this video, I'll dive into the reasons why or why not a new world may be added to the game and what the outcome could mean for the game as a whole. For a little context, in January and February of 2016, Popcap launched Modern Day, the final world of the adventure mode. After this, the game took a new direction, with the Arena and Penny's Pursuit modes following shortly after. These were cool enough game modes, but quite frankly, playing the same grindy game modes for 6 years is just too much. In fact, I think the longest I've regularly played Penny's Pursuit for is like a month. It gets really old really quickly. As for Arena mode, it used to be kind of fun, not gonna lie. That was until they upped the amount of crowns to 500 to get the exclusive plants. Now it feels like unlocking a new plant in Arena is a full 9 to 5 job. So with these two extremely repetitive and tired game modes, the only part of the game being updated, the game has been in a state of recession for quite some time. Personally, the repetitiveness and grindiness of the game has definitely put me off playing it as much, and I'm sure many can relate to that. Honestly, it's just boring playing Arena and Penny's Pursuit over and over again. And the fact that all of the new content, including new plants, are locked behind these modes, means that the new content available for adventure mode players is non-existent. So let's dive into the reasons why or why not Popcap might make a new world to begin with. So about 4 years ago, the devs added these Roman zombies to the game. Obviously, this got some people very excited, including myself, with some hope that this meant there would be a Roman-themed world. But nope. They were just added to the Arena levels and Penny's Pursuit levels. However, as the years have passed, even more Roman assets have gradually been added to the game. Around a year ago, they added a Roman map to the game, which, by the way, looks really cool and well put together, which is surprising given the current state of the game's art and animation. And literally just now, spoiler alert by the way, a Roman Zomboss and Roman music have been found in the game's files. Now, this doesn't mean they'll add a new Roman world. In fact, I can say with 99% certainty that this doesn't mean there will be a Roman world, but I'm just saying they have zombies, they have music, they have a lawn, they have a Zomboss, they have basically all the assets to add a new world besides the world icon and world map pieces. Why not add a Roman world? On top of this, there are the circus zombies, which also have their own map and Zomboss. They could just as easily have their own world, probably based on traveling circuses which were popular in the 18th and 19th centuries, sticking to the game's theme of time travel. Like, at this point, the devs are just teasing us with these worlds that don't exist. I even found this Reddit post where bro is asking the subreddit where the Roman world is. I don't blame you, SandSnake100, I'd be just as confused if I was a new player and encountered a bunch of Roman zombies in Arena and Penny's Pursuit, and there's not even a world for them. Another reason, on top of the assets they have to build a new world with, that they might make a new world is to draw attention back to their game, which is slowly dissolving into irrelevancy. They've been nostalgia baiting players by adding a ton of plants and zombies from Plants vs Zombies 1 back into the game, such as Gatling Pea, Scaredy Shroom, Sea Shroom, and now even the Zomboni and Catapult zombies. And to a certain extent, this has worked in bringing the game back into the spotlight for older players. I don't know if this is completely true or just subjective, but the game felt like it was thriving and more popular when they added Gatling Pea back. Hell, it even encouraged me to grind the tedious Arena mode and Penny's Pursuit levels to unlock Gatling Pea and level it up. But when they added Scaredy Shroom and Sea Shroom into the game, it wasn't as hyped up. This is likely due to the fact that nobody cares about these puny little mushrooms and the fact that the whole bringing back stuff from Plants vs Zombies 1 trick is getting stale. So, what's another way they could bait older players back into playing their game? What's another way they could replicate the golden days of Plants vs Zombies 2? Making a new world! Sure, it would take more effort than porting an old plant or zombie back into the game, but I believe the amount of hype and positive interaction and attention both old and new players would pay off immensely for the game as a whole. Unfortunately, I think the more realistic outcome is that the game will never receive another world. One reason is that the developers working on the game now are different to the ones that were working on the game back then. I'm certain nearly the whole dev team working on the game now were not there back in 2017 or prior when worlds were released. So the developers working on the game now are probably hardwired to making new plants priced at $10,000 and new Penny's Pursuit and Arena levels with the occasional new zombie here or there. Making a new world is something the current devs likely have no experience in doing, and this may even prevent them from doing so. The evidently low effort put into the game's new content for the past few years is further proof that the developers or the higher ups in Popcap right now don't really care too much for the game, which leads right to the next point. Money. It's obvious the game's direction and development is driven by money. This is why their business model is to make a plant that costs a human kidney every month, and I don't blame them. They're a business, after all. Businesses do what makes them money. If the players buy something, they'll keep making it for as long as it's profitable. A new world, on the other hand, may not be as profitable for the amount of effort the devs would need to put in. While Arena and Penny's Pursuit incentivize purchasing and upgrading plants, the adventure mode isn't as focused on monetization. The main monetization of the game while new worlds were being added were the new premium plants that would be released to coincide with new worlds. However, since Popcap have been releasing outrageously priced CDMs for years now, there's no need for them to attach these premium plants to a new world. And the fact that worlds traditionally come with at least 5 free new unlockable plants makes this point more potent. I don't even think the devs would add a free plant to the game if they were held at gunpoint to do so, let alone 5. It just seems like Popcap would see this as a waste of time when they could make more money by monetizing these plants with seed packets. And my final reason why new worlds would be unrealistic is the relatively new timed events feature, which feels like the developers' lazy response to the demand for new worlds. These timed events are limited time events, obviously, which focus around a theme and have a series of levels around this theme, and with sometimes original content. They're similar worlds, but without any of the stuff that made worlds special. No world map, no unlockable plants, no unique music or any music at all from my experience with playing them, which destroys the atmosphere, which is already depleted by the very monotonous and barren loading and level completed screen. And of course, the fact that these levels aren't fixed parts of the game. If you miss a timed event, then bad luck, you'll never get to play it. Anyway, back to the point of the video, why would the developers add a Roman world when they could just phone in a lousy timed event, which they've already done with the Zombossium timed event in January this year, which is where they used the Roman lawn they added. To be honest, the whole timed event thing is really disappointing and it felt like the devs cutting corners once again. To think that this could be the main reason preventing them from adding a new world is devastating to me. Or maybe I just care about this 10-year-old kid's game too much, who knows? Now let's discuss the pros and cons of adding a new world. For the players, adding a new world would be incredible. This would be the holy grail of Plants vs Zombies 2 updates if it happened. I put up a poll on my channel asking you guys how you'd feel about a new world and if it would entice you to a return to the game. Your response was overwhelmingly positive, strong evidence of how much the player base would enjoy this. It would unlock a whole new realm of the game for players to explore and play. It would also preserve the Roman zombies and other assets in a permanent fixture to the game rather than being locked to temporary modes. This is kind of like how Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Booster Course Pass is archiving the temporary Mario Kart Tour tracks that also disappear after very limited time frames. This also means that the amount of effort the developers need to put in is very low since they already have all the assets discussed previously, such as zombies, music and artwork. As also mentioned previously, new worlds would bring heaps of attention back to the game, which the developers have seemingly been aiming for with their Plants vs Zombies 1 nostalgia baiting content. This is also supported by my poll data, which suggests many old players would return to the game solely because of a new world. This could end up in a resurgence of the game's popularity, resulting in more publicity and sales of their existing in-game purchases. The main concern I can see with adding a new world would be the quality of the world. Given the devs' recent questionable efforts in animating and designing the game and its features, it's very fair to be concerned about the quality of a theoretical new world. After all, as mentioned prior, the developers working on a game in 2023 likely have zero experience with designing a world in the game, which could result in a poorly designed world, both in terms of graphics and gameplay. However, the graphical side is mostly already available as pre-existing assets such as the zombies and lawns for both the Roman and circus worlds already being completed to a surprisingly good standard. It wouldn't be fair to finish this video without addressing the elephant in the room, Plants vs Zombies 3. Could this have an impact on the trajectory of a future Plants vs Zombies 2 world? Well, it depends really. Are the developers still focusing on Plants vs Zombies 3, or have they given up on it? We really don't know for sure. There's zero communication from Popcap on Plants vs Zombies 3's development, so this is largely up for interpretation. Personally, I believe the developers are back to focusing mainly on Plants vs Zombies 2 for now. But who knows, maybe they're working on another prototype of Plants vs Zombies 3 behind the scenes. Either way, I don't think this should impact what has been discussed in this video too much, which is why I left discussing Plants vs Zombies 3 till now. As I stated before, I don't think that a new world will be added to the game. But, just for some fun, I'm gonna predict the new world or worlds under the unlikely assumption that Popcap will add a new world. As for the theme of the world, it would obviously either be the Roman or circus theme. The Z-Corp theme isn't likely in my opinion since it has less existing assets such as no specific lawn music, lawnmowers and whatnot. If I had to guess between the circus and Roman themes, I would guess Roman first, since the Roman theme is getting its own music and Zomboss according to recent data leaks. This would mean the assets available for the circus world would be the same as the Roman world minus the unique world music, giving the Roman world the slight edge. In the perfect scenario, we'd get both worlds, but I'm only predicting one for now, which is already highly unlikely on its own in my opinion. For the zombies, we would have all the previously added Roman zombies as well as the new Zomboss. For the plants, it's a little more tricky. Being honest, I can't see the developers adding new plants to unlock, so this leaves two options. They could reassign existing Cediums, Gemiums, or Premiums to the world, or they could just not put any plants, new or old, into the world. So this leaves two options. They could reassign existing Cediums, Gemiums, and Premiums to the world for free, or they could just not put any plants, new or old, into the world. Of these choices, regretfully, I'm gonna have to say the second choice is more likely given the laziness and money hungriness of the developers. Giving players free plants, especially ones that were previously locked behind a grind or paywall, is too unrealistic for modern Plants vs Zombies 2. However, I'm certainly open for the developers to surprise us and be generous for once. The amount of levels would probably be 32 given that the most of the later worlds of the game have this amount of levels. I'd guess that the worlds would have the highest difficulty and be placed either after modern day or before modern day in the world order. Probably after Big Wave Beach and before modern day to ensure modern day is still the final ending to keep the game's story intact. So that's just some ponderings and speculation about a potential new world in Plants vs Zombies 2. Let me know about your thoughts, predictions, speculations in the comments. Thanks for stopping by and have a nice rest of your day.